The conversations around what to do if your tenant cannot pay you rent are certainly taking the media by storm. All of us find ourselves in situations where we want to be caring and considerate to our tenants, and at the same time we've got a mortgage and expenses to pay. So are there creative solutions that we can actually come up with to hopefully mitigate some of that, or to create a win-win solution as best we can? I've been thinking about this, and I've been in negotiation and talks with many of my different tenants, which range from really the low income to the middle to some of the higher income brackets. And I've been looking for creative ways to explore this. So what I'm going to share with you is something to be taken lightly, to be thought about, but it comes with your commitment to think carefully about it, to find out if some of the suggestions I'm going to give you are going to work for you, or if it's actually going to open up a greater minefield of possible risk. So take this as it comes. I'm just sharing what I'm doing with my tenants and my properties to see if I can make this work better. And I suggest that hopefully this can open up some conversation in you, and perhaps a different insight or a different strategy you can apply to your situation. But like I said, I don't think this is the norm. I can definitely see that there will be challenges with this that could come out of it. So take it with a pinch of salt, but I'll see you on the other side. Rent paid is an understanding of a fair exchange for value received. Your tenant is paying you money, and in exchange they are getting access to an asset that you control or own for them to live in. Which got me thinking that if someone does not have the funds to pay across the rent, well, is there some other way in which we can actually create a fair exchange? In my case, as I mentioned, I've got tenants from varying income brackets. Some of them are Uber drivers, teachers, electricians, plumbers, as well as middle to high income earners. So all of them seem to have some challenge of how are they going to pay their rent. And we have discussed on this group already, there are the options of discounted rent or deferred rent, or many other variations within that, right? In some of my situations, I've discounted the rent for April, which has just passed. And if this continues, which I see it will, because lockdown is only coming out at the end of April, as we currently know it, that could still mean that May is going to be an issue. So I'm already thinking, how am I going to handle the May's rental income? Because we've sorted out April, but how are we going to handle May? And it's going to probably be even more dire than it was in April. So there are two scenarios that I see that are coming out of this. The first one is, if I'm discounting the rent, is there another exchange that someone can offer from them that can actually make up for that discount? Or if they do not have any income or funds, can I prepay something for them now so that they've got some kind of funds to buy food, electricity and water that I can receive later on? And this really came out of a conversation that I had with one of my tenants who is an Uber driver, who obviously had dire straits prior to going into lockdown, because as an Uber driver, we were already in a kind of social distancing and really staying at home even prior to lockdown. So he immediately had felt that. The actual restriction of his income. So at this stage, with so much of his income being kind of hand to mouth, he's really stuck, because one, he can't pay the rent, but he's also going to really be struggling with buying food, electricity and water in his unit. So it got me thinking of the two scenarios. I travel a lot, I use Uber a lot, so I've said to them that I will discount his rent to an amount, and then that can be used later on at a stage when I'm needing an Uber driver to take me to the airport or do anything else that I'm needing around this scenario. So there's an exchange of a discount, but it can be delayed at a later time. The second option, of course, could be that I could pay him something now. In other words, I can pay him 500 Rand or 1,000 Rand, which will help him just get through the month now, in exchange for a future Uber ride that we can coordinate. And in that way, I can help him out now with cash now, and I can redeem it later on, or I can get that paid back by him then taking me. And what I'd said is that the next time I go to the airport, what I'll do is I'll give him a call, and we'll obviously determine what the fare would have been to go to the airport, and then I will either pay that, or he can then deduct that at that point from the loan as such that we have. Now, bear in mind that these are not necessarily going to work for everyone. You might also have plumbers, electricians, people who are your tenants who have services that they could offer that you could exchange now for a future service, or you could pay now for a future service coming on. And this also got me thinking of the second option, which is a fair exchange, in line with the plumbers or the electricians or other tradespeople that may be your tenants, is thinking, well, what services do they have that you need now or could use now or later on that you might be needing? And this was thinking around, I have a property where I have tenants on, it's a multi-let property, and there are certain things that I've been wanting to do on that property. They haven't been high on the list because I just didn't want to put the money into that yet. But at this stage, I've got these tenants who are just sitting there. Well, they should be at least at home. I mean, they're in lockdown, but they're on the property and they're not necessarily being active. And I certainly hope they're not just watching Netflix or just lazing around. So it got me thinking, are there things that I could get or ask them to do around the property that would fall within an appropriate means, and that could be also in exchange for a discounted rent or for a future amount to be paid back? And this was actually really interesting because as I started thinking, I started realizing that there are a lot more things around the property that actually I had been delaying because I didn't want to spend the money, but this could be that kind of opportunity. Certain work in the gardens or on the grounds, certain bushes that need to be taken out, fences that needed to be sanded. It would be difficult to get paint to paint the fences, but there are certain things that definitely could be done. Walls that could be sanded, window frames, the tiles in kitchens being really like scrubbed and cleaned. A whole lot of different things that maybe you can think of that actually may really unlock a possible exchange of services for discounted rent. You've got someone sitting at home who in theory has time. You are have rent or income due to you through rent, but you may not receive that because of the current crisis. Even if you defer it, you may still not get it back. So is there a way that perhaps you can find a fair exchange for them to do some kind of work around the house for you or your property in exchange for that discounted rent? And I think there is some real creativity in that. Are there challenges? 100%. I can foresee many challenges that you think that this person knows how to sand a fence, sand a window frame, sand a door, sand to prepare for painting. So again, this is going to come to your motivation and your courage and your drive to find a solution. And there are ways to overcome this. There are ways to talk about it, to show pictures of what you're wanting, to get them to show pictures. Is this how I do it? All that we're opening up is there are ways for us to do this, and it will require good communication and good understandings of how that looks, right? But this may be an opportunity for you to deal with some of the issues on your property that you've been delaying or just are not really considering because it would cost you money. Well, you're probably going to be losing money in the current COVID process because of delayed rent or not an ability to pay rent. This is a possible win-win solution, and I'll definitely explore it more and more. And what I actually really would like and invite anyone here who is watching this is to share other things that you can see on your property that you think could be a fair exchange for someone, your tenant in your property, to actually do over these next 2.5 weeks that we've got, such that it can also spark ideas for us as the readers of this post and watchers of this video to see, wow, actually, I could maybe do that. Because at this stage, many of us are probably a bit trapped into our thinking of how could we make this work for ourselves? What else could my tenant remotely do to help me out? Well, all it may take is for some other person to jot down in the comment section, this is what I'm going to ask my tenants to do, and see if we can create a fair exchange. And you may find that in the unraveling of this, we'll actually find a whole lot of different things that we can do. So as I said, take this with a pinch of salt. Keep the ideas going. You may find a fair exchange. I have already found quite a wide range of things that I'm getting my tenants to do that they are actually willingly doing because they have time and they don't have the money, and it's an exchange of that, and we're making it work. I wish you well. Please do list your solutions below so that we can all partake in it, and it inspires us to take this on as well. And again, together, ourselves and our tenants, we can create a win-win solution.